Over this last term we've been learning about where we are in the world, and we've been looking at all the different continents and oceans, and then Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, and we've been building up towards building a globe cake that will represent the world as we see it and all the different continents. So today we're going to start working on that. So if we're going to be making a cake based on a globe like this, that's obviously going to be far too big for us. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a cake that is going to be about this size. You can compare the size, it's quite a bit smaller. So the first thing that we have to do is work out how much smaller this ball is compared to that globe. Now, very conveniently, this ball also happens to be about the same size as the cake tins that we have in the cooking room. So that's the size that we're actually going to be using. And it's absolutely perfect because we'll be able to get our right scaling using this ball and the globe. Based on the size of this ball, we're going to need to make or get a cake recipe that will allow us to maybe make 1, 2, 3 layers. So long as each layer that we make is the same height as this, then that's going to be enough cake to actually form it into a ball when we're ready to do that. So having realised how big the cake needs to be, the next thing that we need to do is find a recipe that will suit. So Isla's got a lovely set of cooking books up here, and I was looking earlier on, and this is good old Delia Smith, who is a famous cook from the UK. And all we really need to do is find a recipe for a simple sponge cake, that one there. I'm going to let you find your own sponge recipe, and then we're going to look at how much ingredients we need for each part of the cake. So in other words, how much would this recipe make, and we'll then have to scale it up to suit or to match the number of cakes that we're actually needing to make. If you read this one, I think what it's actually saying is each recipe for this one will actually make 2 sponges, but what I'm not yet sure of is whether each sponge will actually rise to the height of 1 tin. I'm suspecting it's only going to rise a little bit, maybe to 2/3 or 3/4 of the height of the tin. If that's the case, then what I'm going to have to do is actually make 4 cakes. Okay, so although that's going to be much bigger, much bigger than the ball, once you take them out of the cake tins, it will probably be round about the right height. Remember, we're going to be cutting off quite a bit of the cake. So, reading the recipe for this cake, what it says is it needs 110 grams of self-raising flour,
teaspoon of baking powder, 110 grams of caster sugar,
cake is actually make with my different layers. I'm going to make some as coffee and some as chocolate, and I think that'll make a nice mocha cake. So that's enough talking from me now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start making this cake, and rather than having you watch it at normal speed, I'm going to speed it up, and you're probably going to have a good laugh. So that's enough talking from me now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start making this cake, and rather than having you watch it at normal speed, I'm going to speed it up, and you're probably going to have a good laugh. So first of all, I'm going to get a big bowl. Oh, there we go. My children are on there somewhere. Line it with margarine. And what I've done here is I've already cut my greaseproof paper into 3 evenly thick strips. I've now made a chocolate icing which I'm putting in between the layers, not every single layer, because ideally my sponges should have been about this sort of thickness rather than these individual ones. So
we're just seeing how it's going. Pretty messy, but not looking too bad. Just hope the whole thing holds together.
Right. Disaster. It's not staying on the stand that I designed. Basically, the weight of the cake was so heavy that the whole thing was sagging down over that base there. So I've abandoned the idea of putting it onto a large base, making it look like a globe. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mould it in, get it as round as I can, and we'll get the icing on it, and we'll see how we go from there.
taking enough icing to go over it completely, and then cutting out the continents, which I'll show you.
What I did earlier on. Press that button. Right, I've already put the icing on. I should have switched the camera back on for that. And I've used watered down blue food colouring to paint the ocean, and using stencils. Stencils are sort of cutouts. I'm sure you've probably learnt a little bit about those in art. Using stencils, I've made the different continents, and so now I'm putting the continents onto icing and cutting out around them and putting them on. You can see I've already put Australia on. A little bit soggy at the moment, but it'll dry off nicely. So I'll just carry on doing that. I'll speed up the camera so you're not watching it in real time, and we'll see how we go.